offices, and currently there are 7 divisions of LAPD that do not have active clergy councils. I serve on Rampart Clergy Council, and we had 15 homicides in 14 weeks, and I've seen a consistent pattern where Latino mothers do not have the pastoral care they need, and it takes 7 to 10 days for a body to be released from the county morgue. And so the clergy councils are key support systems. So when you've had a tragedy and they don't have a priest available, the clergy councils can provide a network to have someone to walk with the families. And I encourage public safety to look at possibly having a kind of a congress of the clergy councils between the divisions, because we're the first responders. Many people do not go to a psychologist, they'd rather go to their clergy person. And so if this isn't just about a tragedy when there's a homicide, if we have an earthquake or other things, the churches are going to be the key community stakeholders that people turn to. So I think it's crucial that we have a clergy council active in every division. And I know Chief Bratton sent out a directive about 3 years ago, and I'm working with Councilman Reyes' office to have HRC assess the status of the clergy councils and what can we do to strengthen the ones that are currently operating and to set it as a priority for the divisions that don't have them going. This isn't, just about homicides. I'm worrying about the next time there's an earthquake and disaster preparedness, and how are the faith communities, because that's often where people go after an earthquake. So it's not just one-dimensional.
Can I ask you just real quick, tell us what the 7 divisions are that don't have them?
Ruth, Officer Beadle is working with West LA is just getting up again. Hollywood doesn't have a very active clergy council. There's several that have them, but they could be reactivated and strengthened. And one of the problems is that with West LA Division, we can't rely on the captains to provide that vision, because captains are getting promoted and transferred like crazy. So it needs to come through the community relations offices in each division to provide that continuity.
I just think it'd be helpful if you could tell us, if you could write down some of these for us, and we could ask the council members for those districts to look into it. And I know we have a very active one out in Devonshire and in the Valley with Chaplain Ken Crawford, but I don't know what's going on in the rest of the city. So
I just want to be fair that there are some divisions that have strong councils and there's some that need support. So thank you.
The Reverend, last time you spoke, I followed up with a chaplain, Father Mike, from the Archdiocese of Los Angeles about this situation. And they all have individuals assigned. I think the problem may be some of those individuals assigned aren't really carrying out the mission that they promised to do. Mm-hmm. But according to the paper, that they are assigned to certain divisions to do the responsible activity, the clergy activity. And I think the problem is some of them just aren't carrying the load that they should be, and that may be the situation. They're assigned on paper, they're not really active. That may have to be the focus. But he said they all have personnel assigned, they're all on the books, and it may just be a lack of participation that's creating the problem.
It's a communication situation with the crisis response team, because when they come out on the scene and they ask the family, would you like to have your clergy person here, the family says no, because they're in the middle of that crisis. But the follow-up doesn't happen sometimes, where the crisis response team doesn't call the family's parish to let them know that you have a family that needs your support. And then the family doesn't initiate contact until they're ready to prepare for the funeral.
It may be a lack of communication.
Yeah, 7 to 10 days.
Right.
I'm worried that the complicated grief risk factors. I have an MA in psychology as well as going to seminary. And that 7 to 10 days without that emotional, spiritual support, many of these moms are developing complicated grief. And so I just want the clergy councils to support LAPD and the crisis response team.
Yep. Does that come out of the community affairs? Who's responsible for that? On
the crisis response team?
No, the clergy council.
The community relations offices.
But overall, the department, the umbrella organization within the department.
I think it is community relations office in the Parker Center.
Maybe they need to have a roundup and brief everyone what they're supposed to do.
There's a monthly religious forum that Chief Bratton sponsors and the last one, many of the clergy council representatives were there. And it's just a question of how do we create a space for the clergy councils to share best practices and maybe mentor clergy in the divisions that don't have active clergy councils.
Pastor, thank you,
Thank
as
you.
always, for coming to join us. It's always a pleasure to see you and really appreciate what you have to say.
Thank you.
so much. We'll do what we can.
Great.
All right, that concludes every committee meeting that's been here.
What's that?